Hey everyone, welcome to Manhwa Mantra. We bring you thrilling manhwa stories, exciting narrations and engaging explanations. Love action, fantasy, and jaw-dropping twists? You're in the right place. Subscribe to support us and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support motivates us to create amazing videos daily. Subscribe, share, and let's grow together. Thank you, and let's dive into today's chapter. In the previous chapter, Fan stunned everyone with an unimaginable display of power. What appeared to be a casual reflex completely obliterated Xiong and the beast-taming sect, leaving even the audience and judges trembling in fear. However, Fan wasn't just showing off. His instincts had flared, warning him of an unseen danger lurking in the shadows near the arena's entrance. Despite his unmatched strength, the presence of this mysterious figure filled him with unease, signaling that his true enemy might have finally arrived. Let's begin the story. A heavy silence blanketed the entire arena. The royal dignitaries, the competing teams, and even the onlookers froze in place, their mouths agape and their eyes wide with disbelief. At the center of it all stood a figure, who seemed less like a man and more like a demon conjured straight from hell. Elder Yun and the two other senior members of the mystical heaven sect exchanged glances, their faces pale, their bodies drenched in sweat. One of them muttered almost inaudibly, "Where did the demon-scheming sect find this monster? Fighting him is nothing short of suicide." Their gazes shifted to the floating soul of Elder Lu, now reduced to an incoherent wreck. He drifted aimlessly, searching for remnants of his obliterated body. The sight sent shivers down their spines. She Ruohua, standing among her peers, couldn't hide her shock. How could this possibly be the strength of a mere disciple? She thought, stunned beyond words. From the mystical heaven sect's group, one disciple's voice trembled as he whispered, "If I'm matched against him, I'll forfeit. I don't care what anyone says. Facing him is madness." The rest silently agreed, their expressions no less fearful. To them, Fan wasn't a competitor, he was an abomination. His savagery went beyond anything they had ever witnessed. In the stage fights, adversaries were meant to clash as rivals, not enemies. Yet this man, he had annihilated his opponent and the entire enemy sect, Elder included. The way he carried himself, like a merciless juggernaut, sent chills down their spines. Yanmo, one of the mystical heaven sect's strongest disciples, was no exception. His usually calm and collected demeanor cracked under the pressure. Yume, standing beside him, couldn't contain her curiosity. "Senior brother Yanmo, who is he? What's his story?" Yanmo's tone was grave as he responded, "It's better if you don't know. Just remember one thing, don't provoke him." He cast her a sharp look, reading her intentions. "Yume, I know you're trying to get more information, but drop it, now." Yume shivered, recognizing the uncharacteristic fear in her senior brother's eyes. She turned her gaze back to the stage, her thoughts racing. This man could challenge even the best among the superior three sects. The weight of her realization left her both awestruck and uneasy. "Senior brother, how do you think he would fare against Wu Qingqiu?" she asked, her voice laced with apprehension. Yanmo hesitated before answering. "It's impossible to say. Fan is a demonic cultivator and Wu Qingqiu walks the righteous path. They're as different as night and day, hell and heaven. But if we're talking raw power, I think Wu Qingqiu might actually struggle against this guy." Yume's heart sank. For Yanmo, of all people, to admit such a thing spoke volumes about Fan's strength. "The Double Dragon Gathering is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen," she thought with a mix of dread and anticipation. Meanwhile, the trio of Han brothers were also grappling with the aftermath of Fan's display. Han Yunfeng sighed heavily, addressing his younger siblings. "We have to secure first or second place in our fights. If we don't, we'll be forced to face him." The other two nodded reluctantly, their spirits dampened by the memory of their earlier clash with Fan. "He didn't even treat us like opponents," they thought bitterly. Just the thought of his power made their knees weak. The judge, who had been silent through much of the chaos, finally cleared his throat. He struggled to find the words to address the unprecedented situation. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the lower three sects' stage is hereby suspended. The matter will be reported to the Exalted Ones for further guidance. All Imperial delegations are to withdraw immediately. A blue, ghostly figure darted forward. Elder Lu, or what remained of him, raged. "You can't end it like this! All my disciples are dead, murdered! Are we just going to gloss over this?" Before the judge could respond, Fiend Yang stepped forward, his voice booming with authority. "Death is a constant risk on the stage. Losing a few disciples is hardly surprising. Or are you suggesting we cancel the entire Double Dragon gathering over this? If we start handing out punishments for every casualty, who would ever dare to fight? How would we measure a sect's strength?" Elder Lu snarled in frustration. "My disciples weren't just killed on stage, he wiped them out off the stage as well." Fiend Yang scoffed. "And whose fault is that? Zhuo Fan's punch started on the stage. It's not his problem the barrier wasn't strong enough to contain it. If you're upset, take it up with the Double Dragon Manor for providing a subpar barrier." Elder Lu froze, unable to argue. Everyone knew that challenging the Double Dragon Manor was a fool's errand. The judge, too, looked uncomfortable. After all, it had been his responsibility to set up the barrier in the first place. He coughed awkwardly and said, "The Exalted Ones will decide how to handle this matter. I suggest you all withdraw for now." Elder Lu glared at Zhuo Fan one last time before retreating in defeat, his ghostly form flickering with barely contained rage. Fiend Yang, unfazed, led his disciples away, but not before addressing Zhuo Fan. "Brother, you've always been calm and calculating. Why the sudden outburst? Did that elder's words truly provoke you?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, his tone indifferent. "Did he insult me? I didn't even notice." The others stared at him, bewildered. "If he wasn't the reason, then why did you go so far?" Zhuo Fan's gaze darkened, his voice lowering. "That punch wasn't for him. He wasn't worth it." Back in the audience, as the crowd began to disperse, a youth in gray robes lingered. His lips curled into a smile, his eyes gleaming with interest. A figure in blue robes approached him. "Junior brother, I've been looking for you all day. What are you doing here? Surely you're not interested in the lower three sects' fights?" The youth in gray chuckled. "I wasn't here for the fights. I came to find someone." The man in blue raised an eyebrow. "In the lower three sects?" "Yes," the youth in gray said, his tone filled with excitement. "I finally found my destined rival. He's just like me, half man, half beast with the power of a sovereign. It's as if fate itself brought us together." The man in blue studied him closely. "I've never seen you this excited." The youth in gray nodded. "How could I not be? This is the clash I've been waiting for. Only one of us can stand at the pinnacle. The next time we meet, it will be a battle to decide who is truly the strongest." Bright and early, Fiend Yang's laughter echoed from his small courtyard, brimming with joy. His amusement was contagious, as the two fiends behind him couldn't help but chuckle along. "This is amazing!" he exclaimed, his voice full of glee. "The fool tried to pin the blame on us, but ended up digging a deeper hole for himself." Just then, Zhuo Fan walked in, his expression a mix of curiosity and bemusement. "What's all this excitement about?" he asked. Fiend Yang smirked mischievously. "Excitement? No. It's pure ecstasy." He paused for a moment, looking around. "What about the brats? Aren't they coming out? I was hoping to share this wonderful news with everyone." Zhuo Fan shook his head. "I've got them working. They're setting up barriers and meditating. They just advanced and need time to stabilize." Fiend Yang nodded approvingly. "Ah, that's considerate of you. After all, we men are always chasing greater challenges. A mere stage for the lower three sects isn't enough for us anymore." His enthusiasm was palpable as he added, "Do you know what happened this morning, Zhuo Fan?" Zhuo Fan shrugged indifferently. "Not really. But I can guess. You were probably dragged into yesterday's mess, weren't you?" Fiend Yang scowled. "You really have a knack for ruining someone's fun. You already know what happened, but you deny it just to mess with me. Honestly, you suck all the joy out of storytelling." One of the other fiends chuckled. "Fiend Yang, why even bother? Zhuo Fan doesn't get excited about anything. If you don't tell the story, I will." But Fiend Yang quickly waved him off. No! I'll tell it. What's the point of having a story if I don't get to narrate it myself?" Zhuo Fan sighed, already regretting his question. Fiend Yang had a reputation for spinning long-winded tales, and the exaggerated expressions of his companions only confirmed it. Undeterred, Fiend Yang launched into his narrative. "So this morning, We were woken up by this rude voice. When we went outside, there was this middle-aged guy. Shabby clothes, unremarkable looks, but his power, it was unreal. Zhuofan's face twitched. Get to the point already. Fiend Yang threw his hands up dramatically. You're impossible! Don't you understand? A story needs build-up. You can't just skip to the ending. Zhuofan shook his head. Now he understood why the demon's scheming. Sex elders dreaded Fiend Yang's storytelling. Still, he waited as Fiend Yang continued. Despite his obvious irritation, we followed this errand boy to the stage, or rather, what was left of it. It was a ruin, empty and desolate, just as we thought it couldn't get more boring. Two figures appeared. Their presence alone shook us to our core. Zhuofan interrupted again. The point! Fiend Yang groaned, clearly frustrated. Fine! Fine. Since you refuse to appreciate art, I'll skip ahead. The exalted double dragons themselves summoned us, along with the judge and beast-taming sect's surviving elder. They wanted answers about yesterday. Zhuofan's eyes narrowed. The exalted double dragons in person? Fiend Yang nodded solemnly. Yes, with the mess you caused. It was only natural they'd intervene. They questioned us and we explained everything. I told them the truth, that it was all because of your battle with Huixiong, the beast-taming. Sect disciples just happened to be in the way. Zhuofan frowned. And they believed that? Fiend Yang shrugged nonchalantly. Why wouldn't they? The exalted double dragons value strength above all. They don't accuse without proof. The judge backed us up too. Elder Lu tried to spin his version of events, but his whining got him nowhere. Zhuofan was deep in thought. What did they say to Elder Lu? Fiend Yang smirked. Oh, he tried to pin the blame on us, saying you weren't even a member of our sect. He accused our sect leader of resorting to cheap tricks. But the exalted double dragons weren't having any of it. They shut him down completely. Even told him to prepare for his inevitable demise. He burst into laughter, the sound echoing through the courtyard. The look on his face was priceless. He must be fuming even now. The others joined in his laughter, reveling in Elder Lu's humiliation, but Zhuofan wasn't smiling. Something about this didn't sit right with him. Before he could dwell on it, a panicked voice interrupted their mirth. Zhuofan! Something terrible has happened! The group turned to see Princess Yongning rushing toward them. Her face pale and her breath labored. Fiend Yang raised an eyebrow. Isn't she the girl who congratulated you yesterday? What's she doing here now? Yongning stumbled, barely able to stand, and Zhuofan rushed to steady her. What's wrong? He asked, his tone sharp with concern. Shuang'er, someone took her! Yongning's voice cracked as tears streamed down her face. We went out earlier and some prince started harassing us. Shuang'er stayed behind to protect me while I ran to find help. She's in danger, Zhuofan. Fiend Yang frowned. Who would be foolish enough to cause trouble at Double Dragon Manor? Not even the kingdom's dignitaries would dare pull something like this. But Zhuofan didn't waste time analyzing the situation. His expression hardened as he made up his mind. We're going to save her. Fiend Yang was taken aback. Wait, you're still going? This whole thing reeks of a setup. But Zhuofan didn't respond. He grabbed Yongning and took off, his determination unwavering. As they disappeared into the distance, Fiend Yang shook his head. The kid has guts, I'll give him that. Meanwhile, deep within a dense forest, Shuang'er lay unconscious against a tree, her peaceful expression belying the danger surrounding her. A shimmering blue barrier encased her, and a massive butterfly, glowing faintly, hovered nearby. The creature's voice was cold and full of frustration. What is this girl? I can't take control of her mind. The most I've managed is to knock her out. This is impossible! The voice belonged to Elder Lu, his soul form revealed at last. A rare and terrifying existence, the dream butterfly, capable of trapping its victims in endless nightmares. Yet here, against this seemingly ordinary girl, his powers had failed.